dang.
Everyone on all sides are making a big deal about this.
Do you think that the government should be in the business of telling you what kind of you can have?
Oh, come on, give me a break. You know.
Is that
look,
yes?
No, look.
We have Big Macs, we have Quarter Pounders with cheese, we have...
To make sure our government is not subsidizing the things that make us sick and unhealthy.
And last week, an entire country was destroyed by a hurricane. The full weight of that story may have gotten by you with all the Trump-tastrophes going on. That was the Bahamas. And for 6 days after that, all Trump could talk about was Alabama. Maybe we should call him Forrest Trump.
Alabama!
They're going after your hamburgers.
None of these ideas are radical, by the way. So what you get are Republicans.
Factory farming is not radical.
Let me just tell you. So
you go, okay, then give up. Then don't do anything. I had a cheeseburger for lunch.
Yesterday, CNN did this climate change forum, back-to-back town halls.
Here's Beto O'Rourke.
To grow 1 pound of beef, it takes 20 times the land and creates 20 times the carbon pollution as 1 pound of plant protein. So as president, how do you think the American diet should change, agriculture should change, and to all those carnivores in your state, can they have their steak and eat it too? Yeah. I think...
One issue that keeps coming up time and again, and Elizabeth Warren handled it really well, is this topic of plastic straws and light bulbs. And plastic straws and light bulbs are a bogus distraction to the broader systemic changes that need to happen in order to really deal with the climate crisis.
70% of the pollution, of the carbon that we're throwing into the air comes from 3 industries.
The building industry, the electric power industry, and the oil industry are some of the biggest polluters and biggest sources of fossil fuel emissions. And yet, they, through corporate PR campaigns, have brilliantly put the focus on, have you switched off of plastic straws to the paper straws or compostable potato starch straws or whatever? Have you replaced all of your light bulbs with the CFLs? And Elizabeth Warren was asked about this, and she brilliantly called it out.
But do you think that the government should be in the business of telling you what kind of light bulb you can have?
Oh, come on, give me a break. You know.
Is that
look,
yes?
No, look, there are a lot of ways that we try to change our energy consumption and our pollution. And God bless all of those ways. Some of it is with light bulbs, some of it is on straws, some of it, dang, is on cheeseburgers, right? There are a lot of different pieces to this. And I get that people are trying to find the part that they can work on and what can they do. And I'm in favor of that, and I'm going to help, and I'm going to support. But understand, this is exactly what the fossil fuel industry hopes we're all talking about. That's what they want us to talk about. This is your problem. They want to be able to stir up a lot of controversy.
Yes, sure, they're going to do that. But as long as we understand the big picture here, and that we all should take responsibility, then this PR campaign stuff isn't a problem. As long as we're talking about everything, we shouldn't switch from one thing to another. Let's talk about it all. So I see nothing wrong with what Elizabeth Warren said. But everyone on all sides are making a big deal about this. Let me know in the comments if I've got this right or not. Or do you have a different view on this?
They want to be able to stir up a lot of controversy around your straws and around your cheeseburgers. When 70% of the pollution, of the carbon that we're throwing into the air comes from 3 industries.
See, this is confusing here, this part here. I think this is the problem that some vegans, some environmentalists are having, is that, well, these 3 industries, well, don't they make the cheeseburgers and the straws? Don't they use fossil fuels? I know the meat industry does.
This is the answer. We can't let these bad actors do the sense making.
Pause there. I don't get that. They're not bad actors. They're a business. And their business is to produce stuff and make money. By the way, the term bad actor refers to people who act badly. Now, you might want to say that people who are producing plastic straws are acting badly because of the environment, but you're buying the plastic straws. I never use straws. See, it's up to the consumer of what you want to buy. Now, on the other hand, the entire factory farm industry is made of bad actors. It's all bad. But no one brought up the kind of facts that I have in my videos. 2017, animal rights investigators went to work for some factory farms.
An animal rights group releasing new disturbing surveillance video from its undercover investigation at the MacArthur dairy farm in Okeechobee. Some of it is way too graphic for us to show you on TV. These clips appear to show cows, though, however, being beaten, speared, burned.
Typical day for a typical dairy cow at the Larson Dairy in Okeechobee, Florida.
3 people are now facing charges.
The authorities did the bare minimum here, making it look like something's being done, when in fact nothing is going to change here. They continue to find these situations at these factory farms year after year after year. And so the problem is continuing. These companies will just hire new employees. Sure, there's corruption and there's waste going on. Remember the time when I found, speaking of my vegan lifestyle, picking out food out of the dumpster behind the 99-cent store? Remember that video where I found a whole bunch of sealed milk cartons? They throw a lot of stuff out. The food industry is very wasteful. And it's not just them, it's the whole system. Our whole society needs work. Instead of just passing the buck and passing the blame to everyone else.
Something like 100 are responsible for 71% of global emissions.
But the American public is responsible for buying the products from those 100 companies. Damn liberals. Now let's hear from that crazy left-wing media. Here's the most liberal, progressive even, news outlet, the Young Turks. Let's see what they have to say about this cheeseburger gate story.
Of course, is trying to mischaracterize individuals like Elizabeth Warren and what they want to do to combat climate change. And one of the things that they keep latching onto is that these lefties are going after your straws, they're going after your hamburgers. And so in an effort to push this message out, they took a portion of Elizabeth Warren's answer from the CNN town hall last night, and they edited it down to make it appear as though the only thing she's focusing on is attacking your burgers. So here is what the Trump campaign released, and then we're gonna show you the full context of what she said. Take a look.
Be in the business of telling you what kind of light bulb you can have.
Oh, come on, give me a break. You know,
Is that yes?
No, look, there are a lot of ways that we try to change our energy consumption and our pollution. And God bless all of those ways. Some of it is with light bulbs, some of it is on straws, some of it, dang, is on cheeseburgers, right? There are a lot of different pieces of it that they can work on and do. And I'm in favor of that, and I'm going to help, and I'm going to support.
So that was...
See, right there, she says she is in favor of it. It was just her attitude. She seemed to be blowing it off, but she was just making a larger point. But the Trump administration ad cuts it right there. Now, the vegans are freaking out because she wasn't making agriculture the #1 thing. She was pushing it aside, but still saying it's something that we should do. She said she supports it. And of course, we've seen the right freaking out because she supports it.
But they did not include the rest of her answer, which I actually think was a strong answer. It goes back to a point I've been trying to make about how combating climate change is not just about individual actions. In fact, that's a small part of it. The real issue is the fossil fuel industry. And that's what you're about to hear in the rest of Elizabeth Warren's answer.
And I get that people are trying to find the part that they can work on. But understand, this is exactly what the fossil fuel industry hopes we're all talking about. That's what they want us to talk about. They want to be able to stir up a lot of controversy around your light bulbs, around your straws, and around your cheeseburgers.
Again, there's so much to unpack. In there, she says we shouldn't be putting the blame just on the public. But no, it's all of our problem. Everyone and every business should be doing their part. But people are treating this like zero sum, like it's got to be one side or it's got to be the other side. No one wants the responsibility of changing. I think that's what it all comes down to. Now here, Warren mentions cheeseburgers. That's what the agriculture industry wants us to be focused on. Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan put up a video. I can see his point. But I think the agricultural industry would rather have us cut back on their product than them have to make big changes and raise the price, which will actually cut back on people's meat eating anyway. It does get complicated, and we should actually have a debate about this, but they had a town hall instead.
When 70% of the pollution, of the carbon that we're throwing into the air comes from 3 industries, and we can set our targets and say by 2028, no more.
No more what?
3 industries, these giant corporations that keep hiring the PR firms that...
And I think what everybody's missing, we can't just get rid of these industries, or they can't just go to zero carbon. Let's say we just all went to electric cars and electric factory farms, which we shouldn't do because those are just plain abusive industries. And they also hurt the small farmer. Let's not forget about them, like that fool on Fox News is. Well, the electricity that runs the car, so electric cars don't pollute. What people don't realize is that the electricity has already been made and put into the battery. But how do you get that electricity? You know, right now, they make electricity with machines that use oil. What everyone is wanting to run from and hide from and sweep under the rug and scapegoat the industries over is that Americans live in excess. We use too many resources with our extravagant lifestyles.
So we don't look at who's still making the big bucks of polluting our earth.
So she actually went further. You've got to attack this corruption head on in Washington and say enough of having the oil industry, the fossil fuel industry, write all of our laws in this area.
Okay, she didn't really spell that out in the town hall. They're all really vague. Yeah, we should definitely get rid of lobbyists and big business influence. Oh, by the way, that's what Trump said he was going to get rid of. That's what the term drain the swamp was supposed to mean. But he has brought more of this in. He brings in the head of Exxon, Tillerson, into his cabinet. He just loves oil, and now he wants to keep coal going. And he has helped the factory farms even. You know, they've had it tough with all this vegans pushing regulations. And he's reversed all that stuff we've been doing.
Signing an executive order that undoes the Clean Power Plan.
He loosened fuel economy standards for cars and trucks.
Approved the Keystone XL pipeline.
His order would allow coal mining on federal lands, permit the oil industry to release more methane.
On Friday, the EPA removed most of the information on climate change from its website, explaining in a press release it's being updated to, quote, reflect the approach of new leadership.
He cares about money and businesses, not people, not the environment.
There's something fundamentally wrong with factory farming. Yes, not just these individual farms, but the farming itself, the way they're doing things. And that's what they need to be changing. This is why we need regulations, which Trump, almost everything bad can be traced back to Trump. Not just what he's done, but what he wants to do is get rid of regulations for all business. And he especially has a fondness for the animal industry with his steak company.
When it comes to great steaks, I've just raised the stakes. Treat yourself to the very, very best life has to offer.
As a percentage of our total greenhouse gas emissions, meat is actually the leading cause.
Well, I'm not a big believer in man-made climate change.
Now, the FDA is not likely to do anything about this while Trump is the president. Because guess what? Trump has shifted the management of the FDA. Once again, people, that vegan lady you see on YouTube a lot, she was wrong. You have to vote.
Now we got Brazil over there cutting down the rainforest to grow more crops for the farm animals. Both of those things are going to do damage to the environment and cause more climate change. Yes, I want to take away your cheeseburger.
I'm guilty too, and the Republicans make a huge stink out of it. We all try hard, and there's different things that we're not. Have you ever thrown a Coke can or a beer can in non-recycling? Yeah, sometimes there's situations where there's no recycling around. What are you gonna do, carry it around 3 different states and until you find a recycling one? Yeah, sometimes that happens.
As a matter of fact, I have done that 3 states. Styrofoam I could not recycle. It's a rare thing, so I didn't know how to do it. I've carried around with me for like 20 years. And recently I found a place where I could recycle them. Check out this video from 5 years ago. This was a unique video, the kind I'm famous for. Freegan, thrift shop lifestyle. I never buy new stuff. I buy a lot of stuff. I'm a hoarder, sort of. But it's all used stuff. That's actually recycling when I buy the stuff. I also get food out of the dumpster. Oh, that's that video here. How to save all kinds of money with fruit.
I hate paper straws. I can't stand them, okay? I had a cheeseburger for lunch. So that doesn't mean that you go, okay, then give up. Then don't do anything, right? No, try to recycle when you can, etc. But when you're doing everything that you can, even if you're imperfect, what are the areas that you could have the biggest impact on? And that's where you got to keep it real. Government has the biggest impact because of the decisions it can make about those industries. So if 3 industries cause 70% of the problem, I love you, try to use paper straws instead of plastic straws, and I'll try too, okay? But we should spend a lot more of our time and energy focusing on the people that are causing the overwhelming amount of the problem, right? So and that's obviously the fossil fuel industry. It's the most obvious thing in the world. The reason Trump lies about it by deceptively editing that video is they get money from the fossil fuel industry. They are the bad guys. So the Trump team, and by the way, it's not just Trump, and a lot of the media try to paint it that way. The entire Republican Party,
yes,
they all take money from the fossil fuel companies. And by the way, half the Democratic Party.
Now this town hall was pretty good. This was a good step in the right direction, but we needed more specifics. We needed them to be pushed on, well, do we actually get rid of fossil fuels? And how do we do that? And would everything be fine after that? Can you have your steak and eat it too? Do we just keep the factory farms going and destroying small businesses and abusing animals? If we just run it all on clean water and solar power. Oh, which we can't do, by the way. And it was Cory Booker that brought up the fact we'll need nuclear energy, which we really shouldn't. The solution is what we don't want to accept, that people need to cut down on their excess. My carbon footprint is so small, it's off the charts. It's just my lifestyle. I've adapted to this. I've always focused on this. And I've just found ways to live way down on the carbon chart. It's not a problem.
Can they have their steak and eat it too?
Yeah.
Drones, yeah, I knew that one was gonna die. Yeah.
Let's take a look closer at the audience reaction. I noticed 3 or 4 people smiling, but then there's this one person over here.
And to all those carnivores in your state, can they have their steak and eat it too?
Now, frame by frame.
Can they have their steak and eat it too?
The answer is yes, but what we eat, what we consume, how we live is all going to have to reflect the true cost of carbon and climate change and pollution. And I'm confident that those ranchers in Texas, whom I've visited with, they're going to be able to meet the targets that we set. I believe in the ingenuity of the American rancher and the American farmer. I believe that we can be up to these challenges, and I reject any notion that we have to radically or fundamentally change how we eat or what we eat. I think we just have to be more responsible in the way that we do it. And the best way to do that is to allow the market to respond by setting a price on carbon.
Sounds like he's saying a similar thing that Cory Booker was saying, except it sounds even worse when he says it. But again, they have to do this. We don't have to radically change the way we, well, you don't have to make it sound so radical. And of course, people don't like the idea of big changes, but that's what would happen. That's what needs to happen when meat becomes the real price that it costs to make. People won't be able to afford it. People won't be able to afford it.
I've just raised the stakes.
Yes, I want to take your steak.